Hey, what's going on YouTube? I'm Kevin Lee, Associate Editor for Tech Radar, and today we're looking at the Sony A6500, Sony's latest APS-C mirrorless camera. It replaces the Sony A6300, which just was announced 6 months before this one, but it's not a direct replacement, but rather a step-up camera. Physically speaking, it's basically the same camera, but there are a few small changes. Now it has a deeper grip, so you can really get a good hold of the camera. And we also have one extra custom function button at the top of the camera. Something that's also a touch screen, but it's only useful for changing your focus point while you're taking photos or video. It also works as a sort of touch pad to change your autofocus point while you're looking through a viewfinder. But the touch interface is nowhere near as robust as we've seen on Olympus or Fujifilm. Otherwise though, not a lot has changed on the exterior of the camera. Internally, a few things are also still the same. We still have the Sony A6300's 24.2 megapixel sensor, as well as the 425-point phase detect autofocus system. But we do finally have image stabilization. The on-sensor image stabilization is excellent and arguably even better than what we've seen on the second generation of Sony's A7 series cameras. We've been able to capture sharp images even at 1/15 a second or even longer. At the same time, the IBIS or in-body stabilization makes handheld video a lot less jittery. Sony has also seriously upgraded the buffer. We have bucket loads of buffer now, and we can shoot up to 300 JPEG images as well as 100 RAW plus JPEG images. Beyond taking a lot of images in quick succession, we can also look through our images while they're still being written to the memory card. Now, combined with 11 frames per second shooting as well as a robust autofocus system, this is a serious wildlife and sports shooting camera. We tested its sports shooting capabilities and we were able to capture tons of action. The AF system did a spectacular job of finding focus and keeping track of players even while they're moving between players and flying down the rink. In terms of image quality, we're seeing amazing dynamic range as well as impeccable sharpness. The Sony A6500 has also been performing stunningly at night with clean, usable files up to ISO 100/6400, but you could also push it farther and just use a little bit of noise reduction to make things work. Of course, the Sony A6500's other bread and butter is video, and it basically has everything you want. You can record 4K at 24p as well as 1080p Full HD up to 120p for slow motion video. Now for you video professionals, the Sony A6500 also samples 4K footage internally at 420 and 422 externally via HDMI. Plus it also has all the flat picture profiles you would want to grade video later. Built-in stabilization was something we felt that was sorely needed on the Sony A6300. Now that we finally have it, it's finally on par with the Sony A7 series. Although Sony has a few zoom lenses with optical stabilization built in, having it in-body makes it that much easier to just slap on a prime lens, go out and shoot without any monopod or camera support system. There's a lot to like about the Sony A6500, but it's not without its faults. The rear LCD is still terribly dim and basically unreadable in the sun, which is a big problem for video, and you'll basically have to rely on zebra stripes to check your settings and check your exposure. Sony has improved the menus to make them more organized and faster. Things like audio levels and picture quality are still buried within the movie modes, and we like to be able to get through things faster with a favorites menu like we see on the Fujifilm system. Thankfully, you can pin most things to the quick menu. The Sony A6300 had some major overheating issues, and while we haven't seen the same problems on the Sony A6500, it still has gotten warm and it's still winter here. So who knows what it'll be like during the summer and when it's out in the sun. To counter this issue, Sony has introduced a new auto power temp off setting that basically prioritizes recording over internal temperature. However, even with the setting, you're dealing with an upper limit of 29 minutes and 50 seconds. After that, you could still record another half-hour session, but that's assuming the camera is operating within normal conditions. So overall, the Sony A6500 might only seem like a small upgrade on paper with 5 new features, but they add up to a much faster and robust camera. For autofocus and burst shooting performance, it keeps up surprisingly well with higher end cameras. And if you're also starting to get in video, you won't find a much better place than this. For the full Sony A6500 review, you click the link below. Up on the upper right, we'll also have a link to the 4K footage we shot with this camera. Tell us what you thought about this review with a like, dislike, or comment. And I've been Kevin Lee for Tech Radar, and stay tuned for more.